Okay, it's just going to be me today on the live. I was trying to get Kristen on, and she's our speaker of the day on the Alchemy of Ascension. I'm going to tune in quick and see if I can connect to the Facebook page. But I don't know what's going on. She didn't make it to the call, so we might try and reschedule. Things happen, life happens. So, real quick, I am just looking for this so that if you have questions, I would love to answer because I don't have anyone speaking with me today. There I am. Okay, hold on one second. Me today. It's so funny. Okay. So, yes, it's just me. And our speaker of the day is Kristen Balecki. And she talked about so many cool things, including the crystalline architecture of, this reality of our reality grid. And yesterday I had Franco de Nicola as well as Luis Matson. I did do a great live with Luis, which you can find on here. And they're all offering such amazing gifts. And something that, so if you have a question, please do jump in and ask me on because I've got my phone where I can see it. So, but something that has repeatedly been coming up, I just kind of want to touch on this time of quarantine, this time of COVID for so many people is about clearing. It's about clearing those old thought forms, clearing those, everything that's not serving your highest good, really digging in and taking that time to get clear on what's going on in here. What do I really believe? What do I not believe? What of societies do I adopt and continue to believe in and make part of my reality? And what of society do I not want to make part of my reality? And how can I release that and filter it out? And I noticed this was also a theme on the first Alchemy of Ascension Summit before it happened, before COVID happened. And then it was also trauma release, releasing old thought forms. And so it's really been up this entire year. And I think it continues to be as we move forward. And then another thing that continues to be addressed by a number of the speakers and myself is the geometry patterns and the fractalization or the fractalized nature of this reality that we live in, of the matrix itself that we are experiencing here in this human beingness experience. And so, I mean, I've mentioned it several times on various interviews that, and hi, Olga, thanks for joining and love to see your comments if you have any and also questions. But for me personally, the geometric nature of the grid of this matrix keeps coming up and people work with it and address it in different ways. You'll see various light workers say, I'm a grid worker and I'm working with the crystalline grid. That's Kristen Balecki. She's a crystalline grid architect, which I think is so cool. And I think many of us are, we just don't have a name for it. I meet people all the time that are light workers that are doing grid work. Even, they're even in the tiniest way. Louise Matson yesterday said on hers, she was making patterns or geometries with the acorns in her yard. That's a type of grid work. And so it's a balancing, but it's also a recognition that this reality that we live in and we're experiencing here is geometric in nature. The crop circles, Patricia Corey talked about the crop circles and the geometries and how the geometries are communicating to us. And the geometry is a form of communication. If you're someone who's drawn to sacred geometry, if you're not familiar with sacred geometry, look it up. It's really fascinating. Many of the crop circles are built with sacred geometries. And then you can actually if you go find a crop circle that you love, there is, I don't know if it's an app, but I've seen a place where you can make them third dimensional, like what they would be, because we just see a two-dimensional flat version of them. But if they were three-dimensional, and it's really beautiful when they pop up and show, like, here's what the geometry would look like in 3 dimensions. And of course, they're multi-dimensional, so that could go on and on. But really, what's going on, and I think, as you know, we've talked about Andromeda a lot, the Andromedan galaxies coming closer to the Earth, and we're experiencing, because of that, I feel like they are a geometric, um, of geometry in nature. They are made of geometry. That's how I experience the Andromedan beings. It might be just that they're the higher dimensional, like seventh dimensional is what I hear when they show up as geometry and higher. But they're light and geometry, and they're these amazing, beautiful, multidimensional expressions of geometric light and pattern. And they don't, when I experience them, they don't speak with words. Sometimes I get telepathic understanding or knowing, claircognizant, knowing what they're trying to communicate. But the best way that I have found to communicate with these geometries that show up are to embody them. So when you're experiencing a geometry, and you can do this when you're looking at a crop circle or a Sri Yantra or any sacred geometry that you see online, and you want to understand it more, what is the deeper meaning of this besides just pattern and the beauty of it, you can actually take it in to yourself in meditation. And the way that I do that is I just sort of create an opening in my heart portal and allow it to come in. And sometimes it drops in through the crown as well. There are different ways this can happen, so play with it. But then just open yourself to it and see what you experience from it or feel from it. It's not always the same, and sometimes for me it comes with sound or frequency vibration. Sometimes there are, an opening into more patterns, into more expression of light, or a great, amazing feeling experience. A lot of times they come with bliss and love and even rapture and oneness and unity consciousness and all these amazing feeling experiences from embodying the geometry. And so I encourage you to play with that, and also to play with patterns and just even in nature, when you go out and draw in the sand or the earth, or like Louise did, make patterns with pine cones or acorns, and create grids. You'll see crystal grids. A lot of people have crystal grids in their home on their altar, and they do regular grid work there. And those crystals can hold the energy of your intention, of what you're focusing on, of what you're creating in your life. They can send out prayers. They can hold a frequency of, healing, of wellness, whatever it is that you want to play with. There are lots of different ways to work with the grids and work with those crystals. And then another thing that you can do, if you find you start to play with these geometries, or maybe you already know that you're a grid worker, you can start to work with the grid work of the earth, of the planet itself. So what that means is, and I do this either in meditation or in my dream time. When it's in my dream time, it's usually not planned. It's more it's something I'll experience in sort of like a lucid dream. But if I'm doing this in my wake time or in my meditation time, you can ascend. I always go in through the heart center and bring my consciousness up to there's a layer around the planet Earth that is a crystalline grid. I always see the lines like blue, royal blue, kind of the color behind me, lines of a grid work around the earth. Now, this contains the information of this matrix, the information of the dimension of reality that you're experiencing. But when you come above it, or when you get above it and over it, you can actually experience a whole different reality, in a different dimension of reality. And so I've been shown this through being taken up by my guides first, but then I also understand this is how we communicate with each other in mass, in a telepathic way. And this is also how the new earth will be communicating, how we'll communicate the frequencies of the new earth on this grid work, and it goes around the earth. And the more that we work with that, the more we send light into it, the more we send love into it, the more we fortify the divine light architecture around the earth, the stronger it becomes, the stronger the pathways become. And then you're able to get there easier, and other people are able to find it and get there easier. So it's this expression of enhancing the grid work, bringing more light to it, interacting with it, receiving and downloading from it, and then also uploading to it. If you wanted to speak in computer language, it works very much like that. I had an experience recently where my Andromedan guides came and met me in, this was in waking meditation, not while I was sleeping. So when I wake up in the morning, I just sit up in bed. I have a headboard that I put my back against and I go straight into meditation. It's a great time to do it because you're so still kind of in that in between, that hypnagogic state where not quite asleep, not quite awake yet. I don't turn any lights on. I do this in pitch dark. And so my Andromedan guides came and got me and started bringing me up over the grid work and showing me the geometries and how it's all geometry. It's all geometrically orchestrated in this matrix. And the patterns that you're working with and expressing are frequencies as well. And you can always upgrade those patterns and your expression of them with your intention, with your mind, with your emoting, your balance and your desire to be balanced in your body and what you're embodying. And these are all things that I teach about. And it's okay if you don't understand them, you don't have to understand all of them. But I felt myself being brought up above the matrix, and we went up and up and up and up until, we were in the very high dimension of reality where I could look down at the earth and the grid work of it and the geometry of it. And it was so far above it and so far away from it and removed from all of the frequencies of the earth. We're inundated in every moment with frequencies from so many things, from electromagnetic frequencies and people's thought forms and everything that's being broadcast on the radio and the television and even the lights that are around us and the computers and everything has frequency. And then what we're tuned into is only, and what we're aware of is only a very, very small fraction of what we're actually sort of being inundated by or feeling at any given moment. So when I went up above all of this with my Andromedan guides and looked down at all of it, it seemed comical to me. I was looking down at it, I'm like, it's almost silly looking at it from this perspective, which understand is like not a human perspective. It's a much higher dimensional perspective. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it looks like a game. It just looks like a game now. And I asked my Andromedan guidance, well, what are we supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this knowledge? And it feels so much nicer up here. What's the point of me even going back there? And you have to understand, like, I was in a very different experience of reality. It wasn't like I was, in a negative thinking way. It was more like, this just seems so silly. Isn't there something more important to do than be in that earth body right now? And then the guidance that I received on that was, you came here to beat the game. You came here to beat the game. It could also be taken as, and they don't speak with direct words. That's how I received it. It could also be, you came here to master the game. But the way I heard it really was, you came here to beat the game. And if you're a gamer or know a gamer, I have a son who is, there's this experience of gaming where when you beat the game, you kind of finish it and you're sort of done with it and go to a new game. So that kind of made sense to me. I'm like, oh, I came to beat the game. Okay, that's what I'm doing. And then I came back down and came back into this body. I'm like, wow, that was a powerful experience. But what I really got to in that experience was, okay, don't take it all so seriously. Like, yes, we came here to do stuff. And yes, we're having this experience of a lot of chaos and negativity and crazy things going on in every moment. But it's a game at a very high level. And I don't say that to offend anyone. I'm saying this from a very higher dimensional perspective that you have, that you are, that we all are at the highest level. We are all the same being that created this game. And so when you can remember, just activate that memory within you, this is all a game that you came to play. Maybe you came to learn something. Maybe you came to grow. Maybe you came to get better at your game. Maybe you came to master the game. Maybe you came to beat the game. And if you're playing a really big game, you probably came to master or beat the game. And what I loved about that was it just reminded me, okay, I have this to-do list that's a mile long, and it's okay if I don't do that. Instead, I can take care of I can go to the beach. I did a 2-hour beach walk. I could go swim in the pool. I could go soak up some sun. I live in Florida, so I'm fortunate to have access to those things. I can spend some time with friends and family. It's okay. That to-do list can wait. What's more important is the connections that we're making. What's more important is, what's in our heart and expressing our truth and realizing, okay, this is a phase of the game. We're going to break through it. It's not going to last forever, but we do have to do our work in order to get to the next level, to level up. You got to get through that. Remember in the very beginning of this video, I started talking about the trauma release, how we have to allow ourselves to let go of everything in the way of what's next for us. So don't just sit and wait it out, but really do your work right now. Go within, open up, let yourself feel whatever you're feeling, and then just continue to work with yourself and do that inner work so that you can express at a higher frequency. And then start to play in the grid. Start to go up and see what happens. Are you getting guidance to play in the geometries? It's really fun. It's really fun up there. Jeremy joined us. Hi, Jeremy. I love that. We are here to beat the game. Yes, indeed. And I think anyone that's tuning in with me, I know I speak about some things that are very not mainstream, and I don't even I guess encourage you to share these types of things with people that are mainstream because it's just going to sound like gibberish. But there are people, I mean, I have over 8,300 people registered for the Alchemy of Ascension Summit. I know that none of us are alone in this, and that there are a lot of us doing this type of work. There are a lot of us understanding it. I also want to say, if you don't understand it all, but you feel a resonance or you feel like a yes within yourself, like you, Jeremy, you absolutely are part of this next leveling up and moving into, this is the new earth frequency that we're moving into. Chantel, you absolutely resonate with me. Woohoo! Awesome. Yes, and also that we're not alone. None of us are alone. And that's why, I love, love, love letting you guys know, like, I felt so alone my whole childhood. And I'm like, am I the only one that thinks so far out of the norm, out of the box? And, I love knowing now there are so many of us all over the earth, all over the earth. Now, you might not have any in your immediate circle. That's okay. You just take a look online. We're everywhere. So nobody's doing this alone. And we have so much help, you guys. We have so much help. The ascension guides, the higher dimensionals, the Andromedans, all of the, oh my gosh, the Anubis beings and the seventh dimensionals and higher. There's so many around us. Just all we have to do is invite them, and invite them through your heart center. I always say to put, hi, I got more people joining in. I think it's D. Hi, D. I understand completely. Yay. I know you do. So if we just put our intention out to connect with those higher dimensional guides, if you're hearing me talk about coming up over the earth and experiencing the crystalline grid and you've never had that experience, but you want to, all you have to do is ask. Just intend it. It's in you. It's part of you. You're in it and you know it. You're inside the game, right? When you hear that, is there something in you that's like, yeah, I feel that. And because of that, we get to be when you realize yourself as part of this game, you get to be the controller. You get to step out and be like, okay, well, you know what do I want to create? I get to be a creator here. Once you've gotten to a certain level of the game and understand how the rules work, this is conscious life creation. And it gets really fun. You know, who do I want to be? What do I want to do? Who do I want to interact with? What do I want my world and the earth to look like? What do I want to experience? And what kind of people do I want to experience that with? And you get to choose based on what you're focusing your attention on. What are you opening your heart to? What are you marinating in? What frequencies every day? And I'm telling you, if you're watching the news and getting disturbed by what's being, broadcast and what people are saying, extract yourself from those realities if you want to experience a higher vibrational reality. Doesn't mean you don't believe it or don't, have compassion. I always say that, have compassion for friends and family and people that are experiencing those difficult things, because we need to be compassionate beings to live in a higher frequency, but don't get caught up in them. Don't get enrolled in their negativity, in their chaos, in their drama, in their illness. If somebody tells you they're ill or, they have a problem, don't get enrolled in it. Give them positivity. Like, I see you in your wellness. I know that well part of you exists. I know that this is, part of your experience. I would never judge anyone for being sick. It's part of your experience. That's okay. I've been sick. We've all had that experience. It's a growing experience. Don't enroll in, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you poor thing. Oh, I feel terrible. What can I do? That's going to fortify their sickness. You can fortify their wellness by saying, I envision the highest for you. I see you in your wellness, in your highest light, if they want that. Some people choose illness. That's their choice. That's okay. Maybe they came here to learn from that position. So if somebody's sharing and they want to enroll you in their sickness, you can either be neutral or ask them, would you like me to say some positive words for you, to envision you as well? Is that something you want? Maybe they haven't even thought about it. Maybe they didn't even realize they had a choice. Maybe you get to open them up to, oh, wow, I actually do have a choice in this. I thought I was just a victim of this. None of us are victims. I personally have been having an experience of vertigo. It started a couple of months ago, actually around the 1st of July when I was moving, and I got the help I needed. The first one was really crazy. It lasted 18 hours of spinning. It was insane. And I got some help. I got the help I needed. And then since then, I've had about 4 small touches of it, and it lasts for a couple days. And I've learned how to work with it. And I notice my mind will start to go to, oh my gosh, I don't want that experience like I had the first time. I don't want anything to do with this. How do I get out of this? Okay, that's the first reaction. And then I'm like, okay, I know that I have power over my experience. And I'm going to choose to be with this experience in how it's showing up. And what I've learned from that is it's showing me when I'm out of balance. Now I'm doing a 30-day or 30 speaker summit. It's been a huge production. It's just me and my virtual assistant. And that's the only people that are, that are producing it. So it's been a huge amount of my energy every single day. Plus I'm a single mom, part-time. Well, I'm always a single mom, but I have my son half the time. I have extended family. I have like a community that I like to interact with, and just life. And it's been very out of balance because it's been all work for me, and I'm not a victim of that. That was my choosing, and I love my work, but I have a tendency to work too many hours. Well, that's causing an imbalance in my energy field. So when I've learned now, when I start to get that feeling of vertigo, first of all, I hydrate. But secondly, I'm like, where's my life out of balance? And it was happening yesterday, and I had a friend who messaged me. She's like, "Hey, I'm suddenly finding myself in your area, and I don't have any plans. Would you like to get together?" So I invited her over, and we hung out and talked and sat at my pool, and it was lovely. And I took the entire rest of the day off. Now, normally I wouldn't do that, but after that, I woke up this morning. I got a good night's sleep. I have no vertigo. And so I'm just seeing like, okay, my body's talking to me. This is a time where we have to listen profoundly to what our body is sharing with us. And when we do that, we have an opportunity to get back in balance. So I take full responsibility for that misalignment. And I'm also aware it can be scary. For anybody that's experiencing that, I get it. It's very scary, or any health conditions for that matter. But find what it is that your body needs. I created that imbalance. I created it from being too much, like a workaholic and not balancing out my life with the other things, with getting in nature enough. And I love to go to the ocean and walk the beach. I did that, the other day for 2 hours, and it was just so nourishing after I hadn't been there for 2 weeks. And whatever it is, you can go outside, stand with bare feet on the ground, sun gaze, or just, put your face to the sun. Let that nourish you and fulfill you and balance you. Find that balance in your life. If it's social interaction, I realize a lot of people are in quarantine. Reach out by phone or Zoom calls or whatever it is, to get that, even if you can't have physical interaction, to get that connect with other people. It's so important. We have social needs, and you've got to get your social needs met even when you're in quarantine, and maybe especially when you're in quarantine, because it's so important to connect with other people and just give each other energy. We get energy from connecting. Okay, another comment. Oh, Jeremy, you've had vertigo as well. Yeah, it's a crazy thing. Any insight on ringing in the ears? And I know it's called tinnitus, and for me, there are different types of that. When I was in my early 20s, I think, I was really having a lot of spiritual openings then. I would hear the tones. So there are like the various tones that can come. And that can be or be a symbolic of a frequency upgrade that your guidance is or your being is giving you. You might be changing dimensions, you might be changing frequencies. So if you're hearing different tones periodically throughout the day, different moments, first of all, it can be a way that your guidance gets your attention. So just like it's a tone coming out of seemingly nowhere, but it's from within you, that can be one way that your guidance communicates with you. So always perk up and listen. I always pay attention if I hear that. It's one of the ways my guidance clairaudiently communicates with me. It can also represent you, your frequency expanding and you're sort of like changing. And vertigo can be that as well. It can be an ascension symptom. Your frequency is raising, some of your physicality isn't quite aligned with it yet. I always recommend for that meditation, getting balanced, balancing your chakra system, connecting to the sun above you, connecting to the earth below you. There is a crystal pyramid in the center of the earth, anchoring your bottom of your spine to that crystalline pyramid. Sorry, I got to pop up here. And get yourself aligned, and that can help for vertigo. I don't know if it can for the ringing. There are other types of ringing of the ears. I mean, there's tinnitus, which represents like if you've had a loud, a hearing loss, and that's a different type of thing. So I'm not going to say it's always ascension symptoms or it's always your guidance talking to you. Sometimes there are certain types that are, and there are certain types that are something else. So I'm not a medical doctor. I don't make any claims about that. But yeah, so Jeremy, oh my being is lighting up. It's a call to attention and then some. Makes sense. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah. So those little tones can be very full of information. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of, there are different types of interacting with your intuitive gifts. Clairvoyance is seeing. So if you see visions, if you have, beings show up and you can see them, or you see energies or auras around people or sparkles in the air or orbs or whatever that is, that's clairvoyance, the visual aspect. There is clairaudience, that's hearing. That can be hearing a voice. That can be hearing the tones and the sounds, frequencies. I have a type of clairaudience where I hear various frequencies, such as I can hear high pitches if I walk into a room and there's a computer on or an electronical thing, any device that's on that has like a certain frequency to it. I can hear it. Nobody else I'm around generally can hear it. Very rarely can anyone else in the room hear it. But to me, it's like, oh my gosh, what is that? So that's been as long as I can remember. I just hear a certain pitch, a certain frequency. Um, and that has me also aware that when my guidance is communicating with me in certain frequencies, I can tell the difference, but it has me able to hear some of those frequencies that maybe other people don't. Another way that we experience our intuitive gifts is claircognizance, and that's just a knowingness. It's like, I don't know how I know this, but I know something's going on here. I know something, or I understand something. It's almost like a download of information through the crown center, and then it just kind of opens up, and we open up our understanding of it, and then we just know. I call those downloads a lot, but that's claircognizance. There is, let me see, what else? There are people that, oh, of course, feeling, clairsentience. Everybody has that at some level, I believe. We feel energies. You feel, if someone walks in the room, somebody's staring at you from behind you and you feel it. That's clairsentience. You can feel energies in the room, feel frequencies, feel things in your body. Very important gift to pay attention to, your clairsentience. There's a taste one where you can like get certain tastes that remind you of certain things. Smelling, like some people will smell when Mother Mary comes into the room, or Divine Mother, like a lavender or rose. And there are various smells, like when a deceased loved one shows up for certain people and let's say they were a smoker, they might pick up that smell of smoke, even though nobody's smoking around them, they're being visited. So there's so many different ways that your intuitive gifts can open up, that you can interact with the divine and with the presence beyond you, with the multidimensional experience of being human. As you raise your frequency, more and more of these things come online. And your job really is to pay attention and to notice and not get, try not to get scared. It's fine if you do, but if they scare you, if you hear something, see something, feel, I get scared sometimes too. It's okay. But just to notice that and then be courageous as much as possible and work with it. Go into meditation, ask your guidance or your higher self, what is this? And what does this mean? What are you trying to tell me? How can I communicate with you? I'd like to know more. Show me show me what else. So what can I do with this? And I'm a guide to help people get there, but ultimately the work is within you. It's within you. All of the answers are there. It's a matter of tuning in, taking that time, being quiet, being still. Another way that's really helpful to get in touch with those things, I always have a pad of paper next to my bed. So if I wake up, I can start writing any messages that I get. And then I go into automatic writing. So anytime throughout the day, I have little pads of paper all over the house. So when I'm getting a message, I start writing it. And then if you like get quiet within yourself and just allow yourself to start writing, a lot of times more will come. And it's like a bypass of your human mind. That's when you're truly doing automatic writing. You're not thinking the thought and writing it down. You're like bypassing the thought process and writing from a higher divine connection. So that information is coming through you